Everyone says how horrible it will be to renovate or build your house. We're here to say it doesn't have to be that way. Join 3 seasoned architects as they interview homeowners who recently completed a large project and ask them one simple question. What do you know now that you wish you knew before you started? Welcome to Home, the Second Story podcast.
Welcome to Home, the Second Story. We are 3 residential architects sharing real conversations with homeowners who've taken on custom home or renovation projects. If you haven't already, check out our first episode to hear more about us and why we're doing this. I'm Taylor Davis from TPD Architect in Birmingham, Alabama, and I am joined today by my co-hosts.
I'm Sherry Scott of Springhouse Architects in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And I'm Marilyn Modinger of Runcible Studios in Lancaster, Pennsylvania and Boston, Massachusetts. And today we're joined by Rich and Ilana from Richboro, PA. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So glad to have you. We're going to dive right in. Are you ready?
Sounds good.
Okay. Where is your project located?
Richboro, Pennsylvania is in Bucks County, just outside of Northeast Philadelphia.
What is the project? Is it a new build, addition, renovation, some combination?
Combination.
Yeah, combination. So bought it, and now we've renovated the whole house. Originally, it started with an addition above our garage. That was a master bath and master closet, and then slowly transformed into renovating the entire house.
But we did buy it knowing it was a fixer-upper. There was a leak straight from the master bath down into the garage that we could see when we bought it. Like, we knew that.
It was disclosed.
So you knew you were getting into something.
Yes.
When did you start? Because I know your project, because I know the story a little bit, and we'll get into this. But when did you start?
We settled on August 31st, 2022, and I think we started September 1st, 2022.
Nice work.
Next day.
But we were not living here.
Yeah, so we did. This is kind of interesting, I think, for a lot of people, but we did what's called a leaseback on our sale of our property in South Philadelphia, where we kind of took a tiny haircut on the price. It was very competitive at the time for the option to continue living there for a few months as we found a house and eventually renovated a portion of it to be able to make it livable. So we sold the South Philly condo maybe June of 2022. Our contract with the person we sold to until basically Christmas. To basically be out.
Okay, and then did you move in then?
Thanksgiving
of 2022. So
got it. Okay.
We came in, demoed the entire upstairs, and eventually came up with the idea to do the addition. That was not the original game plan, and we can speak about that as far as my brother and the architecture is concerned. But we demoed 2 of the other bedrooms and the hallway bathroom so that we were like in a livable scenario.
Yeah, and at this point we had a 9-month-old, so we needed to have like a very working bathroom and 2 bedrooms. So that's kind of what we needed to
like the bare minimum to get in the door. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yes.
Like a tub and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. So our listeners can visualize a little bit. What was the size of the project? What style? Just kind of.
Yeah, the original house is considered like 1,800 and change square feet. And it's a split level, which is pretty common around here.
Yeah, our neighborhood is like straight out of,
77.
77. So half the houses are split levels and like the other half are colonials. And we bought this house because of the neighborhood. It is super family friendly, really great school district, big yard. So there were so many things that we knew we wanted, and this house just fit that, even though the insides didn't really fit that.
The house, it was a time capsule from 1977.
Yes.
That's fun. Our last sort of intro question before we dive into more of your story is, there's a lot of different ways to work with an architect, from not working with one at all to just sort of using one to inform what you're up to, or to full services and all that kind of stuff. If you worked with an architect, or did you, or how did that play into your project?
Yeah. So for the addition, we did work with an architect, and it was nice. It's a local guy. He's familiar with the township, so that was definitely helpful. We're in Northampton Township, if anyone's curious. I told you this before, Marilyn, but he was he understands the houses here really well, and he did something really interesting for us that was nice to work with, where he actually flip-flopped what was the master bedroom with like a side bedroom or a guest bedroom, and turned that into the master so that we could build the addition over the garage and navigate into our new bathroom and closet much more easily. And that was something that I did not really envision. It's something that comes with dealing with a professional.
And I will say this, Rich kind of bypassed the whole beginning. In my head, we were going to use an architect. We're trying to keep, finances down. We're trying to keep a budget, all this thing. So I wasn't even thinking about an architect. And when we bought the house, we knew, okay, these closets and this master bedroom are awful. This bathroom is awful. Like, how are we going to rework this? And we thought about it, try this, and like, nothing really made sense. And then his brother saw the house across the street from us and said, you guys have the same exact house, but they have extra space above their garage that you guys don't have. So Rich went across the street, talked to the homeowner. The guy and he's our friend now. He let us in. He showed Rich everything. So Rich actually got plans from our neighbor of what he did first. And then Rich went and found an architect who then told us, you know what, let's flip-flop it and make your master on this side of the house. And then everything made sense.
Yeah.
He did something different too. He did do a master bathroom, but he actually did another ensuite bathroom into that other guest bedroom because he has 2 daughters, and I think he wanted to kind of, help give one of them an extra bathroom in there. So,
but all in all, hiring the architecture made all the difference because we never would have thought of that on our own. The professional thought of it and got us to the right place.
I'm so glad you said that. That's your sound bite. That's the one we're going to use. Of course, the professional made all the difference.
Yeah.
How did you continue working with the architect? What services did you use?
He essentially just did the plans, and he gave us a few different drafts. And it was an interesting experience. It was the first time I've ever worked with an architect or built an addition. But he gave us the plans and with a couple different options where most of the options were just how to configure the bathroom.
Yeah.
The rest of the plans there wasn't much to really play around with. So it was really just where do you want the toilet and the shower and how to arrange the linen closet in the bathroom. We have a pretty large bathroom now. And then he just worked with us through the engagement of the project with the township, which was nice because the township would come through, inspect, and if there was questions, the architect was available. And you have to, you guys know this, you have to submit, or maybe it's different per township. You have to submit to the township. They have to approve the plans. They might ask questions. The one that kind of caught me off guard was, because we're building an addition, you have to get it re-sided, obviously, but they were asking what type of siding and all this kind of stuff. And in my brain, it was kind of obviously just continue the vinyl siding that we have. But I guess that is a really interesting question because you may do brick or you maybe do a different material out on that addition, and they want to know because I guess maybe they have rules about they don't want it to look super wacky for some reason or be left with plywood for eternity.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and just for our non-Pennsylvania listeners, Pennsylvania is organized by townships, which are tiny, tiny little jurisdictions. So other places are organized by county or city or town or whatever, which are usually bigger. Pennsylvania is townships, and there are a lot of them. So everyone is their own little tiny kingdom with their own little tiny things that you got to do. So yeah, that's fun. I really would like to hear, the story of the project. So you hinted, and I may know a little bit about this, but you hinted earlier that you started off with an addition, but then it turned into a renovation and it turned into a whole thing, or it started as a renovation, turned into an addition. So how did that happen? How did it go from just part of it to we're doing the whole house?
Well, I think I always knew we were going to do the whole house. We're not super sure of what that timeline would look like, depending on, again, finances, children, all of those things. So we said, let's start with the addition because we know we really had no closet and no master bath. So we really started with that. And then...
And I will say, too, we didn't buy with the intention of building the addition. We got in there, we demoed the upstairs, and we started upstairs because that previous master bathroom was inoperable. You could not use it. We knew we had to start there. And we demoed the whole upstairs, and we're sitting there, we're all kind of thinking, how are we going to arrange this so we have a decent sized bathroom and we don't eat up the whole bedroom? And then that's when my brother looked across the street and realized, hey, your neighbor did this addition. Maybe you should do one too, which
I love that you guys demoed first and then thought about the design.
Yeah.
I love that. So many people do the design and then they demo, and then they might miss the opportunities that come from seeing all the bones. That's super cool.
Yeah. Because of my brother, we're pretty comfortable digging in. You know, he's just so capable.
Tell us a little bit about him.
Sure. So my brother is a master plumber in Pennsylvania. And he's also just like a jack of all trades.
Well, he's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He's flipped. Before we got to our house, you guys have flipped how many houses? 4?
Yeah, I did one with him, and he's done probably 3 or 4 others prior to this, and now he's got a few more under his belt. He's just super capable. His first ones, he kind of started with the whole like Burr mentality. You guys ever heard that from the Bigger Pockets podcast?
Yeah.
He didn't like know that, but he was doing it. He's not a very big social media guy, but so the Burr is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. I might have those a little out of order, but back in 2011, 2012, as like the real estate market was kind of recovering from 08, 09, you could kind of get in with really low interest rates. You could renovate, the price of the property would appreciate really high, and then you would refinance your money and go get the next one. And he did that kind of just unknowing. He bought his first house. He was still a plumber's apprentice at the time, and he basically redid the entire place himself. For, you know, as little money as he could possibly do, refinanced it. And then he bought this like really rundown place in Croydon. Croydon's along the river outside Philadelphia. And I said, Mike, you bit off more than you could chew with this house. And he
It was like a whole room of cat pee. It was
perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And he did a beautiful job. He built like a dormer, he built a deck and renovated the entire house, soup to nuts. And it was beautiful. And he sold that and cashed it out and bought his next house in Levittown for cash and renovated that while he lived there. All these houses he did while he lived there.
So you're taking notes and you're like, he can help us with this. When it's time for your project, he can help.
I was helping a little bit at his Trevose house, the first one, but at the Croydon house and then really the Levittown house, I really started to get involved a lot more because it was COVID. I was allowed to work from home and I had a lot more downtime than I was used to having, and would just drive up and work with them. And then that's when our YouTube channel kind of happened, the Jews with Screws. And that kind of took off. I don't know if we're sharing nothing religious. We just thought it was a funny name. So
It is hilarious, actually. Like, my husband's Jewish, and the whole, like the whole Jews with Screws, like he would think that was hilarious.
Yeah,
because it is not his forte.
That's what's the funny part.
That's the funny part.
Well, like my dad would never pick up a screwdriver.
No.
So the fact that him and his brothers
Bingo.
are all the handiest,
Yes.
this is crazy.
well, and
I think it's fantastic.
They make fun of me. Say I held the hammer backwards like the first couple of days I showed up. I'm a software developer by trade, so I'm really good with computers, but I wasn't super handy. But I worked on those few projects with them and just became a lot more comfortable. And then I saw how capable he was, so that makes me even more comfortable. And he helped us with a couple projects. He helped us redo our bathroom down in South Philly and a couple other things. And I just said, when he's the one that recommended we buy this house when we were looking around, because it was like such a steal. It was at the time, 2022, if nobody remembers, it was at the time when people were like overbidding by like crazy.
Yes.
And
right.
it was right before interest rates like really shot up. And this house was scaring people away with that bathroom. And we looked at it because it was like, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like that blue tile with like,
a blue toilet.
A blue toilet. Yeah, of course.
Toilet, yeah.
So it was like one of those. And we were like, we're not going to keep this bathroom anyway. So let's just take the discount and get after it.
So did you guys hire a separate contractor, or did you and your brother do all the work?
My brother and I.
Wow.
Yeah.
As a dad and a full-time job.
At the expense of my sanity.
Of
Yeah.
course. Oh
That's
my
why I'm glad
goodness.
you're both here. We're getting the full story.
Exactly. Yeah.
How did the timeline work out with that? Was it what you expected?
Everything stretches out further than you expect, but it's now June of 2025 and we're like done.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's got to feel good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I mean, there's always more you can do. We'll build a deck one day and a nice patio and that kind of stuff. But like we're in the house and the house is done.
So let's get back to the actual story of how so you're demoing, you looked around, you figured out, got the architect, got your brother lined up. You're like, here's what we're going to do. You start that. What happens next?
To try to accelerate this, I played kind of GC. I didn't do everything, obviously. And we hired someone that my brother works with a lot that is a local like GC, but he also, he has a framing crew. So they framed the addition and basically enclosed it for us. And then from there, I just started organizing the couple different contractors we got, the installation crew, the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing was my brother, obviously. The electrician is a good friend of ours. So a lot of times the electrical I'll do with him, helping out. And I really like to do it. I mean, I still pay him, but I really like to do it. I get to learn more and I understand what's happening inside of our house. We moved in Thanksgiving of 2022. I don't think the addition was completely 100% done until probably September of 2023.
Yes.
And when did the ceiling story happen? Because I want you to get to that.
So,
There's a story before that.
Story before that.
We move in, we're super happy, and we are talking all the time about how do we want to do the renovation downstairs? Because it's a split level, we have like one floor that has like the kitchen, dining, kind of like TV area. And then you go down the stairs and there's a laundry, a powder room, and then like another family area. And we're just trying to figure out, do we do the whole down the stairs where the laundry area is first? Or do we do the upstairs where the kitchen is? And we're just like, let's just wait. Let's save up some money and we'll talk about it in whatever amount of time. Then our powder room floods. And
so the timeline's a little off here. It happened in May of 2023. So this is before we even finished the addition. I came back in one day. I was outside doing something, come back in, and our lower level has like an inch of water hanging around. And I'm like, what happened? And I've actually been through this in my South Philly house. Hand to God, I'm not flushable.
Good.
Murder me.
Not with a brother who's a master plumber.
But it's just bad luck. And our main sewer line failed and backed up into the house. So while we're in the middle of this addition, I can't remember like what phase of the project we're in, but like we might not even have had sheetrock yet. Our downstairs has to get torn apart. So have to call, we have a good family friend as a public adjuster. We call him. He gets the restoration services in here right away. They clean everything up downstairs, and it's the whole dehumidifier, rip out the bottom foot of sheetrock and all that kind of good stuff. And then we had to dig up our whole front yard and replace the sewer.
But again, like his brother Mike did all of that.
Right.
So
not for free, but
no,
paid for a big chunk.
And we know it's being done correctly. That's the other thing. We
Right,
should trust the person who's doing it.
Yeah, that's huge.
Now
that influenced the whole, like, what are we doing next and when are we doing it? Because now we have it downstairs that's basically unusable for our little children.
It's like a ripped up floor,
Right.
You're in the powder room, go to the bathroom, you could see your feet. Like
through the wall. Like the door is like not really necessary because you just see right through it anyway.
Yeah.
So we were living with that for a while, and we were going to get ready to do the downstairs and not do the main level yet because it was ripped apart. That was my general game plan. And then New Year's Eve.
We had a baby. We had our second baby.
As the house was getting sided with the addition, we got the whole house resided. It needed to be sided anyway, so we had it completely resided and got the addition sided.
We had our second baby on December 14th, and then 2 weeks later, on New Year's Eve day, I'm upstairs putting our older one down for a nap, and I hear him go, "Lon, come get the baby." And I'm like, okay. So and
I'm like frantic.
Yeah, I like run down, I get the baby. He's like, "Just go upstairs." I'm like, okay. And I'm like sitting up there like, what? 5 minutes later, I hear a huge like crash, and I'm just like, what is going on? And our whole ceiling collapsed in the living room.
In the main living room.
Oh my goodness.
This is the one area of our house that
Wait, you hadn't done anything to that one. Like if I'm thinking through the split level as I know a split level, that was probably one of the untouched spots. Like that's the one untouched spot.
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we realized that it wasn't water damage or anything like that. I think because of the siding guys banging away on the side of the house, it shook the sheetrock loose. It was all the original sheetrock, and it was in an area with like a pretty large span to begin with. And the glue dried out. It used to be nails. You guys know how it is. And
This is why we screw drywall.
yeah,
Juice and Screws knows that.
Yeah.
we screwed now, yeah. And around this area, it's becoming really common that this is happening. I see on like Facebook other people complaining about the same thing. No water involved. It's just the sheetrock
Right.
was fail over
Poorly
time.
installed. Well, I mean, it has been close to 50 years, but
I know, I
but
mean,
that,
So now you've got a flooded, torn apart first level,
lower level.
a living room that has no ceiling and is now completely covered in 50-year-old drywall dust.
Yep.
And now you're like, I guess we're renovating the house.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like one of the beautiful things about my brother is this was like 2:00 in the afternoon on New Year's Eve, and the heat just escaped out of the house. My thermostat's in that room, and it's immediately ice
oh,
cold.
Lord.
I call him in a panic, and he's like, all right, it's still 2:00. I'm going to run to Lowe's, and I'm going to get foam board. Patch up whatever you can, and I'm going to run over with the foam board because it's going to be too much to put sheetrock back up. And we're just going to put the foam board back up. So he did that. He got over. We managed to get the insulation, most of the insulation back up there because it was just bat insulation. You know, not as good as it should be, but good enough. And put the foam board up, and I used like the HVAC tape to seal up the seams. And we lived like that until September of 2024.
Like our friends would come over and I'm like, don't look up.
Yeah.
Just don't look up for me. The blue soundboard ceiling with lions on it. Like
If you guys want pictures, we can like send you pictures. Like,
That's hilarious.
It's amazing.
But like the great part too, I will say this, our kids were so little. I didn't care what they did.
yeah.
You know,
It didn't matter.
take a marker, you could write on the walls. If you
Oh,
want. Like,
yeah.
I don't
Right.
even care.
Yeah, now we're back at our house and it's beautiful. We love it. And we're like, don't touch that. Don't touch.
Yeah.
I want to jump in because I want to applaud you. I lived in northern New Jersey and in New York for 14 years all in. And the split level is a design conundrum. For most people, I mean, my sister-in-law lived in there. We've been through lots of split levels. And Bergen County, there were a lot of split levels in Bergen County where we were. And not many folks have the creativity to sort of think outside the box a little bit. A lot of them get renovated kind of as they are, and you don't see any kind of opportunity. And there is some beauty to the split levels kind of efficiency and the way it uses space. So the fact that y'all opted to go out over the garage and expand that footprint, but in a way that maintained kind of the generosity that the split level affords, I think is really interesting. So I want to give you kudos for thinking outside the box a little bit.
Well, thank you. And I was going to say, we haven't even talked about what we did
In
to
the
the split level area. Oh, we totally changed that too.
I'm dying to hear because that's one of those things that like people don't buy split levels because they think that they're unworkable, that you can't live in them, that they don't fit modern life, et cetera, et cetera. And actually there's a lot you can do with it.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's just, you're right. They were built in like with a different mindset.
Yes, very different. And especially like for me, I was having such a hard time being stuck in that kitchen where I couldn't see anything else.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the kids. I was constantly like trying to do a dish and then like running out. Like I still vividly remember like my kid, I gave him Play-Doh because I thought Play-Doh will keep him occupied for a while. And then all of a sudden I go in there, he ate a whole ball of it and I had to scrape it out of his mouth because for 1 second I didn't see him. There used to be this huge wall that spanned essentially where we are sitting right now. Right now, there was a huge wall. And I just said that wall has to go. It has to go. And actually, that architect that helped us upstairs did kind of like look up in the ceiling and he's like, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be okay. Like, I don't think this is a load bearing wall. And it wasn't. So I don't know if I'm fast forwarding too much, but
No, this is good. This is good stuff.
we got rid of the whole middle wall. We closed up. So right behind us, this used to be the second set of steps down to that
Down.
lower level.
The split level typically has that like circular.
Yeah. So we closed that up and now we have like a full proper like dining area next to our kitchen with a huge island and opens up into our family area. So like now I can literally be at the sink, I can cook dinner, and like everybody's just here with me.
I think that's awesome. One of the key things that you said there is that you were in the space for a while, and that's what told you that that wall had to come out. So I'm curious, what other insights did you learn by living in the house that helped you during the renovation, that helped you know what to do?
The interesting one to think about was that other staircase that we got rid of. I was a little hesitant at first because I've been in a lot of split levels growing up, just like I'm familiar with them. And it's like the typical design, and it kind of like gives it what a split level is. And I was really hesitant to remove it because I felt like it was going to really ruin like the flow of the house.
Right.
But we actually, the entire time we lived here, we had young children, one very young child and then a second very young child. We had the thing gated off the entire time anyway.
We never used it.
We never used it. And we said, you know what? Like, okay, here
We
we are.
don't need it.
We don't need it. We've been up and down this area the whole time in this other set of steps, and it's perfectly fine. This is not a massive house. Now with the addition, it's not even 2,100 square feet. You know, it's just about that. So it's like you can get up and down with that one set of steps perfectly fine, and it just makes the flow of this room so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we knew like, okay, the one thing we might run into by closing off this set of steps is like, it's going to be that much harder to get to the backyard because you have to go down these steps and then down to the slider in the bottom area. But we decided to add a slider here in the kitchen. So we'll put steps there so you can go right out the kitchen to the backyard. So we kind of fixed that anyways.
Made a new set of steps.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like living in the space as an experiment to tell you. I love that, the gated off thing. And you're like, actually, this tells us we don't need this.
Right.
That's so smart. It's smart to take the advice the house is giving you.
Mm-hmm.
True.
You
True.
know? You're listening.
I don't think I realized it at the time, but
You know, knowing everything you know now, I mean, you've got quite a story with lots of chapters. Would you offer advice to someone who's about ready to start on this process?
I mean, if you don't have the time and the know-how, hire professionals.
There's our next sound bite.
Yeah. it's a lot to juggle. Like I said, I played GC for essentially both projects, and it drags on a lot longer. Like the second phase when we renovated the downstairs, I was hoping it would be 4 to 6 months. It ended up being 8 months. And a lot of it is, I don't even think it was like my fault necessarily, but it's, you know, this person gets delayed and then it just stacks, right? So our insulation guy kind of pushed us back like 3 weeks, and you know, you can't do anything else until all the utilities are done, and you can't do anything until the insulation's in. And then we got to the point where we needed flooring, and the flooring guy or the flooring material was 3 weeks delayed. And then we couldn't do, you know, I ended up like painting just because I needed something to do, but repaint anyway, because everything got ruined by the time, you know, you do the trim and all that kind of stuff. So it's just those types of things a contractor is going to be much more aware of and work through much better, or have alternate crews that can come and do things.
And, you know, doesn't have, you're working a job all day. Like this is
Yeah.
not your job. So you don't have the time all day to be calling all these people and checking up and making sure. And then, you know, I'm over here. Did you call this person? What do we have to pick out now? What are we doing now? Like it took, yes, a definite toll. We're still together, so that's great.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. But it was hard. I mean, we also had to rely very much on our family. Like his mom, we lived with his mom throughout the entire renovation. Like thankfully was
the second part of the renovation. We lived here during the addition.
But during the second part, yeah, because we knew we were ripping everything out. And then my parents were so helpful. But like you were saying, what advice would you give to someone else? If you're going to do this, you need help. If you have kids, you know, you just need to be able to like rely on people to help you with certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, something you said in there, it's another job. There's a reason why that's another job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's. I know a lot of people don't think the GC does much, but you know, they're doing a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And I build software for a living, and I do actually program, but I'm also the project manager of the development team. So like, I know how much effort's involved in just moving the checkers in the position, right? Or the chess pieces into position. There's a lot going on, and you're dealing with different personalities and that kind of stuff. So you guys are more used to it than I am, but I'm calling, Joe from the insulation company, and he's this old crotchety guy. And I just want to be like, get over here with my installation. I'm trying to be like kind about it because I don't want him to just completely blow me
And then
off.
I said, give me the number and I'll be the bad guy.
There were a couple times where we did like good cop, bad cop type of deal, but it doesn't. I mean, I feel like most of these people and like try to get recommendations and stuff, but like they want to do the work too. And in fact, I find that most contractors want to be done and out of here faster than they should be.
Right. That's how they make money.
Yeah. And they're like sloppier than they should be sometimes. But so they're not blowing you off just for the sake of blowing you off. They're busy, unfortunately, or maybe fortunate for you. It's like, the world is flip-flopped. There's not as many tradesmen, and there's a lot more kind of paper pushers these days than there used to be. So there's not as many people to come by and give you quotes and all that kind of stuff. So our project was an 8-month project, but if we hired a GC and had someone do it soup to nuts, it probably would have been 3 to 4 months, but it would have been a lot more expensive. So
I would be surprised because general contractors also have all of those problems. They have people that just don't show up no matter what their relationship is like, because that is the business. If a drywaller wants to be busy all the time and he schedules his time at one project, that gets pushed, then the next 3 get pushed, and it just seems like it never quite catches up. So I think that you being a solo person, working with your network and you knew some of these people probably helped a lot, because other people that try to do projects like this on their own, a lot of times the good subs won't even return their calls because they have enough work with their steady general contractors. So I think you did a great job, and it sounds like the timeline was really pretty good. It was probably painful for you guys as a young family being out of the home, but it sounds like you did a great job.
thank you.
Yeah, I will say I have to give him credit. I do think that he really did do a great job. Like, I anticipated like a 6-month mark, and we technically were in like 7.5 months. So to be honest, that really wasn't that much more.
A lot of work.
We did so much work. And also there's something to be said for him doing the work. Like, I go and I look at the tile in our powder room and I'm like, did that? Like, that's impressive. And the tile, like every piece of tile, he did it. And that is so cool to me. Like,
That tile guy blew me off. So
I
Out of
and I made
desperation.
him let me do a couple pieces of tile in the powder or the laundry area because I just wanted to like try it. And of course it was like herringbone and really difficult and but
she picked the toughest tile to possibly do it.
Just start off at the top, like your first tile job, make it the toughest one.
but like I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And I will say, like, people will come in and be like, wow, like this looks amazing. Like, did you hire a designer? And we're like, no, like we picked everything out. We did it together, So it's a big accomplishment.
Well, it feels like yours. It's your home.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a testament to the communication that you guys obviously were able to have through the project. I mean, no project can get done like this unless you're communicating well with each other and supporting each other. So you're talking about help with, family and everything else, but you guys with each other too. In custom residential land, a lot of us joke that we're part-time or even sometimes full-time marriage counselors.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and we're like in it with them.
Yeah.
I think our cabinet lady said that to us, that she deals with this a lot with like a lot of couples. It's like, it's tough.
But Rich did a good job. Like, he made what do we make? We made like a Excel spreadsheet of all our finishes. What do we like? And he separated it by, light fixtures, faucets, grout. Yeah, like just so that we could keep track of it. Was it bought? Was it not bought? And then also, like, as I found things that I liked on the internet, I could put the link in there, and then he could look at it and tell me if he liked it or if he didn't like it. Not that it really mattered, but well,
I was more like, do I like the price? That's normally where
That's sort of
That matters.
it can get crazy seeing some of the prices for things, and you just like, that's something else too, like a piece of advice, like when you're doing these renovations, and we didn't know this, and we kind of unfortunately are still dealing with it, is that have like a furniture budget, because we got all the way done, and then it's like, wait, we're going to stick all our old furniture back in this house? Or,
Right.
Yeah,
and
right.
we,
But as to what Marilyn was saying earlier about like letting the house help you learn what you need, I also said, I don't think it's the worst thing because, again, our kids are young. We're going to be so worried about them like messing up the furniture. Why don't we put what we have, see where we like it, where does it fit? Will I be able to fit like a sectional couch in here? Like, will it stick out too much? So we're kind of doing that right now. And I kind of like that because then in like 2 years, when we save up a little bit more money, I can really know what's going to fit good and what's going to look good and what I really want.
I love that. I'm so glad you shared that because I think, as we begin to wrap up our conversation, I think having the ability to see your project as a long-term investment of time, of resources, of that kind of thing. This isn't a flip, right? This is your home for at least long enough, maybe not forever and ever, but it's at least your home for long enough that you can take the time to do that and have things that you really want instead of just feeling that pressure and buying whatever just to fill in the gaps and then not really being happy and having wasted money,
For sure. For
So-
sure.
And something else too, Marilyn, you tweet about this all the time, or you write about it at least a bunch, is pick what you want. Don't try to just be like, I just want the white cabinets with the, like the quartz countertop that like everybody has. My brother renovated his house. So he bought a place like the same time as us, renovated, big, beautiful house, neighborhood across from us. And he did it like very much more plain Jane. And it's absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But our house is like much more eclectic. He kind of makes fun of us because we have like black cabinets. Our siding is black. Our closet is black. It looks super cool. But he walked in while I was painting the coat closet. He's like, are you going to put any more black on this house? And I was like, I don't know.
Maybe.
It looks cool. We like it. So like our
Yeah.
tile powder room is like super interesting. The tile in the laundry room, super interesting. The paint color is interesting. You can see chinchilla Sherwin-Williams on our dining room wall there. Like, that's a really valuable piece of advice. Like, don't try to make it look like the trend now because that's what the trend is. Do what you want because like you say, the next person's going to move into this house and
Hate
do
it,
whatever they want with it
possibly.
anyway. So
Exactly.
just enjoy it, and do what you want to do.
Couldn't agree more.
So it sounds like you guys had a lot of surprises along the way, to say the least, and unplanned things. But now that you're in the house and you've lived there for a while, what is something about the finished project that you love? Something that you use or walk past or drive up to every day and you're just like, thank goodness we did this.
Do you want to go?
You go first.
I just think it comes back to like the flow again for me. It's being able to stand at the island, do the dishes, have the kids just play here. Like my older one, he's 3.5 and he's really into golf. Also, now he's putting in the living room. He's like, Mommy, watch me putt. And I can stand here and I can still get things done while he's putting in the living room. And that's really all I had wanted from the beginning, So really, I would say like the flow of what we've created in here now for me.
I love our bathroom, like the original renovation, the addition, our master bathroom. We put the heated floors in there, and I just
Nice.
So good.
That's the question we have with a lot of our clients, which is, do they want heated floors? And I always have to say, no one who has ever installed them has ever regretted it.
And they're not that expensive. They're not that expensive.
They're not that expensive, right? They're so fantastic. And then I'll cheat and just add one more because this is a trend that I grew up with my whole life and I hated it. But we put the range hood over the oven and like actually suck the air or the exhaust out. And like I never had that before. I always had the microwave over the oven, which I hate it. And, like
no good.
I like to make steak on a cast iron in the house, and you always had smoke detector going off, and now I turn that bad boy on and it sucks it all out, and it's fantastic. So that's something else that like if you have the opportunity to do it.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was, I feel like, just a gold mine for our listeners in terms of
Yeah,
good stories and lessons. So So thanks again. And we're really glad you guys could join us today.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. Let us know if you want any pictures. We're happy to send you pictures.
That could be fun.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, that was fun.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, I think that was one of our first ones where there was like this multi-phase adventure, where it started off one way and then there was a flood and the ceiling fell in and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's really good for everyone to hear about.
Which is really not that unusual when you think about how residential projects go. I mean, there's usually not usually, but a lot of times there's like some like catalyst. The roof caves in, the ceiling falls, something floods, like the range breaks, something that they don't want to have to replace. And it just spirals is kind of the wrong word, but it makes you rethink okay, if it escalates, if I'm going to do this, why don't we think about X, Y, and Z? And so I don't think it's that unusual. I still do I'm sort of stuck on the creativity with the split level, because I do think that for a lot of people who live in suburban neighborhoods, the split level can be kind of this, you either love it or hate it scenario. And, lots of people are so enthusiastic about it that, you can't change it. It's anathema. This is what it is. But I love the fact that they were really creative about thinking about that space, because it is structured in such a way to kind of limit some of the things you can do.
Well, and one of the things that they said kind of quickly, so I wanted to make sure we highlighted it, about the split levels is that the architect that they work with, I think Rich said that he's a guy who knows these types of houses really well.
Yeah.
So because of working in Boston, I know triple deckers really, really well. And I can look at them. I can look at it from down the street and I know how it's framed and I know where the bearing walls are and I know where the problems are going to be. And having someone with that deep knowledge, whether it's an architect or a contractor, but someone who really understands that house type in that area, boy, is that worth something.
It's huge.
And, that's what he was saying about the architect there. I also liked, at the beginning of the story when they were talking about when they were looking for something to buy, they knew they wanted a fixer-upper, and they were really buying the neighborhood, not the house. So I think that's really important for people to remember. You aren't necessarily going to find the perfect house, but you can renovate a house and make it way better, but you can't change the neighborhood as easily.
And they had his brother who, they have a lot of trust in, and he's a professional. So for him to walk through the house with them and say, oh, buy this house, you can do a lot with it. I can see a lot that we can do. So that makes a difference too, to have that kind of professional backup to make that leap on a house that you're like, I don't really want to live here.
Yeah. And thinking about what your network is, I'm thinking about, a lot of times people come to me and they say, we just don't have anyone in our world who can help us make these decisions, or who understands construction or understands design or knows what the next step is. And that's, of course, part of the reason why we're doing this podcast, is to help spread that knowledge. But also, you might be surprised. I mean, not everyone has a brother who's a master plumber who flips houses. So that feels like a secret unlock. But I do think that just in your world, you probably have someone who is good at this kind of stuff and can help navigate some of that with you. But, they said a couple times, of course, obviously we're excited about them pointing everyone in the direction of the professionals. And that doesn't always mean architect, but it does mean somebody that knows what's going on.
And I like too, Marilyn, that you pulled from the conversation about letting the house inform the design and understanding kind of living in, they couldn't do it for all of it, but living in it for a little while to help them understand kind of what worked and what didn't and how they were going to actually use it. There's a lot of pressure when people buy a fixer-upper to fix it up immediately. And sometimes it may need to be camped down in for a little while to understand what the house needs and what you need in the house. And those two things will vary from family to family and from person to person and owner to owner. And sort of given a little breathing space and time for that, I think is really helpful.
Yes, I agree. And I mentioned about I was excited that they did the demo and kind of were in the space. I also think that, Rich's comment about the contractor wants to get out of there sometimes a little too quickly. I think that's really key. Everyone in a project is always like, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? I want to be in by Thanksgiving. And that can lead to some short-sighted decision-making and okay, maybe that Thanksgiving gets ruined, quote unquote, because the house is still a mess and you're eating off of paper plates or whatever, because the project took an extra 3 weeks. But you're going to be in that house for the next 15, 20 years. Are you ever going to remember? That's going to be a funny story you tell. Listen to all their stories now. Right. They were not laughing about those stories when those stories happened.
Right. That's a good thing to bring up, for sure. I thought it was interesting how they made the things work between them, like making a spreadsheet of all of the finishes, which, we have all done for our clients. And they, I don't know how they found the time. A lot of my clients don't have the time to do that kind of work. But they found the time to not only do the construction, but to manage it and to make some systems out of it.
Obviously, they saved money by doing a lot of that themselves, for sure. I mean, they even said, but you pay in some way, and they paid in time and effort. I think some people think that they can just do it because all it is making a few phone calls and like kind of checking on things. And no, it is a grind.
It's a job.
It's a whole job. It's like 3 jobs. So I think, their sort of dedication to that and understanding that meant that they were able to save money, but they understood that what they were trading for it. And that doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. That's why we're doing this, right? Different approaches.
Right.
It was fun too that while they were going through the process, like he was actually making a YouTube channel. So, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in there, but just want to make sure everyone heard Jews with Screws YouTube channel. I love that. So there was also another layer of sort of understanding the project and understanding the story of the project that actually, makes sense and helps the project along. And we're going to link to it in the show notes. So y'all should check it out because it's fun.
Thanks for joining us on Home, the Second Story. If you'd like to come on the show and share your story, email us at admin@htssspodcast.com. We'd love to have you as a guest. For more inspiring homeowner stories and tips, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Home, the Second Story podcast. Feel free to share this episode with a friend. Contact information for all 3 of our architects are in our show notes. And don't miss future episodes. Follow or subscribe to our show for free in Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.